This is a moment in Jewish history. This week, I was visiting Hadassah Hospital, and as I was roaming the halls, I saw old black and white photographs of their founding, and there was a plaque stating that Hadassah was founded on the Jewish holiday of Purim, this very week, 113 years ago. There were photos of the women who founded the first nursing school in the land of Israel, revolutionized medical care, built hospitals throughout the country, and created the Tipat Halav infant care centers. It was the brainchild of Henrietta Szold, a Jewish American, and the founding took place at Temple Emmanuel in New York. Szold was a member of a Jewish women's group called the Daughters of Zion. In 1909, she visited the land of Israel and fell in love with the country and the people, but was also appalled by the poverty and limited medical facilities. One of the striking images she witnessed was flies on the eyes of children being treated in the few hospitals in the country. Controlled by the Ottoman Empire, the land of Israel was an underpopulated, underdeveloped Third World area. When she returned, she told the Daughters of Zion of her ideas to help their fellow Jews in the homeland. That culminated on Purim in 1912. In honor of Queen Esther, the heroine of the Purim story, they named their new organization Hadassah, Esther's Hebrew name. The official invitation read, "The time is ripe for a large organization of women Zionists for the promotion of Jewish institutions and enterprises in Palestine and the fostering of Jewish ideals." Two nurses, Rose Kaplan and Rachel Landy, were sent to Israel the following year. The organization grew, and when World War I broke out, they had doctors and nurses sent to Israel to help assist. 1918 was a busy year for Hadassah. The war was coming to an end, and they created the American Zionist Medical Unit, which sent trained medical professionals to Israel. They also founded a nursing school. Since the beginning, Hadassah has always sought to help all residents of Israel, regardless of religion or ethnicity. The medical facilities beforehand were often run by church groups and were accused of being missionaries and proselytizing to vulnerable Jewish residents. For example, the London Society for Promoting Christianity Among the Jews was the organization that built hospitals in Jerusalem and Sfat in the late 1800s. St. John of Jerusalem Eye Hospital opened in the 1800s by the Venerable Order of St. John. Hospitals run by Jewish administrators with Jewish doctors and nurses that could provide kosher food and understand the needs of Shabbat and holidays were few. One of these was the Chesed LaAvraham Clinic in Hebron, founded in 1893 by Rabbi Chaim Rachamim Yosef Franco. It served both Jewish and non-Jewish residents of Hebron. By the 1920s, Hadassah approached them to assume administrative duties. Hadassah helped with funding and staffing, and the building became known as Beit Hadassah. In 1929, it was the site of some of the worst atrocities of the Hebron massacre, when Arab rioters ransacked the hospital and murdered the pharmacist Ben-Zion Gershon and his wife and daughter. Today, it is a residential building and houses a museum and synagogue, and it is still called Beit Hadassah. In Jerusalem, Meir Rothschild Hospital was one of the oldest in the city. It was originally located inside the crowded walls of the old city of Jerusalem, and later moved to Hanaviim Street. In 1918, Hadassah approached the management and offered their services. This was the beginning of the first Hadassah hospital. Hadassah also opened its nursing school in 1918. Today, the original Hanaviim Street building, with its ornate stone pillars engraved with the name Rothschild, can still be seen in Jerusalem, next to what became Hadassah College. Today, it is officially called the Jerusalem Multidisciplinary College. It began as the Alice Seligsberg Girls' School, named after one of Hadassah's first presidents. Born in New York, Alice Seligsberg was a social worker and worked with orphans and war victims. Here is what she said about her work with Hadassah. We think of tasks not merely as medical enterprises or children's services, but as educational projects in the highest. Our ultimate task is the upbuilding of the Jewish homeland as a socially just and creative community, creative in every domain, science, art, religion, a community in which every person may develop to his utmost power. The Alice Seligsberg Vocational Guidance Institute became an important place of education in Jerusalem. Another Hadassah initiative was the Brandeis Vocational Training Center in Jerusalem. Here's the director, Dr. Schneider, explaining its importance.
As it has turned out, we have become the only suppliers in Israel of such highly precise instruments as microscopes and a great variety of other scientific apparatus. The contribution of our school is therefore twofold. We are offering the best training there is in Israel, and we are actually producing a great many scientific instruments which otherwise would have to be ordered from abroad.
Today, these schools live on as part of Hadassah's broader educational network. The founder of Tipat Halav was Bertha Landsman. I remember when I first heard the name, which literally means a drop of milk, and found it a little odd, but then I saw the old black and white photos of the Tipat Halav nurses, literally carrying containers of milk to distribute to children. Back in the 1920s, Bertha Landsman was pretty much the only registered nurse in the region. Trained in New York, she wrote the following about her experiences training both Jewish, Muslim, and Christian nurses. It was an uphill and victorious fight, training a group of young girls gathered in Palestine from the four corners of the earth to measure up to the high American standards of public health. Many of these nurses are highly intelligent but have no flair for system and no patience for details, and are resentful of discipline. She urged them to reject folk remedies and superstition and embrace modern medicine. At the time, pasteurized milk was an innovation. It was packed in ice boxes and delivered by donkey to mothers in Jerusalem, thus Tipat Halav. Infant mortality dropped to be one of the lowest in the world, and today Tipat Halav offers much more than milk and has centers throughout the country. Henrietta Szold was the driving force behind these initiatives. She also worked with Aliyat HaNoar, or Youth Aliyah, an organization founded in Germany in the 1930s during Hitler's rise to power. They helped establish youth villages in Israel to provide homes for refugees. Here is Henrietta Szold talking about the importance of Youth Aliyah from a Hadassah film.
We have already brought out of Germany into Palestine 1,000 boys and girls between the ages of 15 and 17, from a land in which they could not attend school into a land in which they have fine educational opportunities, from a land in which they cannot pursue trade into a land in which they are taught trade, from a land in which they are repressed into a land in which they are given the opportunity of full self-expression. Palestine is, in that respect, comparable to America, to the United States. As in the United States, our young people look forward to a life of usefulness, so in Palestine, these young people repressed in Germany are able to make for themselves a sphere of usefulness, a sphere of noble citizenship.
Henrietta Szold's name lives on as street names and schools in both America and Israel. In 1939, Hadassah opened its grand Mount Scopus facility, designed by the renowned architect Eric Mendelsohn. The campus had to be abandoned during the War of Independence in 1948 and the infamous massacre of the nurses by Arab forces. In 1961, the new facility in En Kerem on the outskirts of Jerusalem was completed. After the Six-Day War, the Mount Scopus building again became operational. Today, both campuses have a total of 1,300 beds, 31 operating theaters, and 9 special intensive care units, and Hadassah runs 5 medical schools. In 2005, it was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. And that brings us up to this week, as I visited Hadassah. and looked at the old black and white photos on the wall. And I also saw youth roaming the halls in Purim costumes and distributing treats to patients. And with that, I wish you a happy Purim. This has been a moment in Jewish history. Thank you to all the listeners, and Shalom.